Hi, today we're going to talk about how to answer a document-based question. Let me get myself out of the way here. Okay, so a document-based question is one which you would get a primary or secondary source. That's a document that's original to the time period or one that's written by a historian. And what we're going to ask you to do is craft a paragraph where you analyze that source and try to get into the mind of the author or the artist or the historian that wrote it. So when we're doing document-based questions, they're more complex than free response questions. There's more parts that you have to cover in your response. The first thing you want to cover is the historical context. You need to explain to the reader, where is this document from in history? What was going on at the time that it was written? And there are specific questions here. I'm not going to read these all to you. You can pause the video and read them. We're going to be doing a lot of pausing on this document-based question. The second thing is purpose. Why did the creator, the author, the artist, the historian, produce the document? What were they thinking when they did it? Point of view talks about, where does the author come from? What's their background, and how does their background influence the way they're looking at historical events? In almost every historical document, someone's taking a side or forming an opinion, and we ask, why are they forming that opinion? The audience is, who is the document directed at? Who is the author writing it? Who is the artist making it for? And why did they pick that audience? And then the big one is impact. What is the person hoping to get out of creating this document? And what parts of the document lead us to see that this author may hope for that kind of outcome? So again, there's a lot more than when we do T in the free response questions. So take us time, pause this, read through these, and when you're ready, progress on to the next slide. And here you are. This is a sample document. It is a primary source. It's one written by Hernan Cortez, who was a conquistador in New Spain, and he's describing his interactions with the native Aztec people in a letter to the King of Spain. Again, there's going to be a lot of words in primary sources you don't understand. You kind of have to skim through them once and then go back and take a more in-depth look. Don't be intimidated if you don't know what every word means. If you can't use the context to figure it out, skip it. And hopefully as you go further into the document, things will start to make sense and words may come to you that you're like, that's what's going on there. So again, take a second, read through this document, pause the video, take your time. I'm not expecting you to understand every part of the document. I just want you to have a good idea of what a primary source looks like. When you're ready, unpause and we'll look at a sample response. Okay, here we are. Again, we're going to answer in one paragraph. These are not long responses, but they do contain a whole bunch of information. Just like with T, you'll notice that I'm indicating all my different parts of my response in bold and red. I ask you to do the same thing in your responses so that it's easy to see what part of the question you're answering. It also allows me as a teacher to say, oh, you keep telling me point of view, but you're actually describing historical content. So it shows me your thinking skills. So we're going to start off with our historical content. It's the letter from Hernan Cortez, was written at the time of Spanish colonization and conquest of North America. So I'm setting the scene. This is when the Spanish came over. Cortez is telling about contact with the Aztec or native people that he encountered. So we're getting down to this contact aspect of Spanish colonization. All this is the second sentence is going a little bit more in depth. The first one's talking about Spanish colonization as a broad concept. The second one's saying specifically they're talking about contact between the people here. Cortez wrote his letter to brag about how he had convinced the native people to give up their religion for Roman Catholicism. Did you get that from the document? Maybe you did, maybe you got parts of it. I further go on to say he wanted to make himself look like a brilliant conqueror and hero who had forced the native people to change religion. Once again, Dr. Hensey's got a typo, but that's okay because it's a rough draft. The P stands for purpose. So his purpose was bragging about how he got these people to do something and to make himself look like a brilliant conqueror and hero. Next is point of view. As a white European, so I'm clearly outlining what Cortez is. He believes that he is better than the native people who he looks down on as weak-minded because of their religious beliefs. He gives no respect to the natives. So that shows that the side he's on is that of white Europeans, on people that have a sense of racial superiority to the natives. Cortez is writing to the King of Spain. Now I'm giving my audience because that is his boss and he wants to get the approval of the king in hopes of getting even more power based on how well he has done at spreading the Spanish religion. So his intent is self-serving. Hey, king, look what I've done. I've got these silly Aztecs to give up their dumb religion and convert to the one true faith, Catholicism. I'm a great conqueror and hero, and I want you to be proud of me. Finally, we address the impact, and Cortez is hoping the letter will have the impact of making him look heroic and like a good Catholic. He uses phrases such as, I have made them understand the true faith, end quote, to show his power as a white man and a Christian. You'll notice on the impact, that's the only time I pull an actual phrase from the document, and I use it to illustrate how I can see the impact he's hoping to achieve based on the language that he's using. Nowhere else in my essay am I quoting the document. You don't want to do that pretty much as a rule, and the only place it's acceptable is down in the impact statement if you want to show a selection of language to reinforce what the impact is that the author or artist, the creator, is trying to achieve. Document-based questions are harder than free response questions. We're going to admit that because they require you to do more skills and they require you to have in-depth reading of historical information written by people living at that time. So instead of 5 points, these are 10-point questions with the historical context, purpose, point of view, I almost messed that up. Point of view, audience, and impact all counting for 2 points each. And those 2 points are really based on how accurate your answer is and how in-depth it is. You know, if you would have just told me up here that this was about the Spanish colonization, that would have been 1 point. But I went on to talk about it also being part of contact with native people. That's 2 points. I'm identifying Cortez as a white European, 1 point. But I'm saying that gives him a bias against the natives, 2 points. I identify his audience as King of Spain, 1 point. But he selected that audience because he's trying to get a promotion, for lack of a better term, 2 points. So the more in depth you go, the more you pick that up. So document-based questions are harder, yes. They require more thinking, yes. But they're worth more points. And keep in mind, this is partial credit. Even if you would just get the historical context right and the audience right, and let's say his purpose, you got both of those, that's 5 points. So it's not a 0 or nothing question. It can be broken down and you can get as many points as you're able to squeeze out of that document. As always, with any writing question, if you have questions on how to do it or how it's constructed, feel free to email your teacher and we'll be glad to work with you on that. Have a good day.